If you've communicated the problem and the solution with clarity and then made your ask with clarity and in a way that the giver is the hero of the impact story, it's that moment that a person is most likely to make a commitment. Welcome to the Nonprofit Launch Plan podcast for startups, small and growing nonprofits. This podcast exists to help you build your nonprofit from the ground up on a strong foundation. In every episode, we give you frameworks and tools and the personalized guidance that you need to create lasting impact. Hey there, my name is Matt Stockman. Glad to have you listening. At Nonprofit Launch Plan, we believe that every nonprofit has to be operating at peak performance in 6 key areas in order to be successful. And those 6 areas are leadership, development or fundraising, marketing, programs and services, operations, and finances. So on every episode of this podcast, we talk about a topic that is core to one of those 6 areas. And today we're on the 4th step in the Fearless Fundraising Framework, which points to development and fundraising, obviously, creating a sense of urgency that compels a person to take a step towards your nonprofit and make a financial gift now rather than at some point in the future. So step 4 is creating urgency, and we'll get more into that in just a moment. Before we do, I want to tell you about a special freebie that I've got for you. If you're struggling with fundraising, it's the number one pain point for just about everybody who's launching a nonprofit, and it needs to be at least 80% of what you're concentrating on to begin with. I've got this great free mini course that's a PDF workbook and 5 really short videos that will walk you through the 5 core steps of the Fearless Fundraising Framework. And these 5 steps really create a proven plan, a process that will not only build your confidence in fundraising, but will remove the fear and create more results for you, more people partnering with you and supporting your work. The reason fundraising can be so tough is a lot of us go into it without a plan, or the only plan you have is, well, I'm going to talk to all the people in my network, and then we sort of just hope for the best after that. But this core fundraising framework really solidifies in your mind the emotional journey that anybody who gives to any nonprofit or ministry work goes through, so that when you understand it, you can sit with anybody, a friend, a family member, or somebody you don't even know, and guide them through the process of how their involvement fits into the impact that your work is going to make. The mini course is free. You can get it just by going to the website, nonprofitlaunchplan.com. Again, nonprofitlaunchplan.com. All right, so let's review a little bit. There are 5 parts to the Fearless Fundraising Framework, and today we're focusing on step number 4. And remember, these steps end up being a guide that should really influence all of your communication with donors and potential donors, in-person conversations, large group presentations, your website copy, emails, everything. Step 1 is the problem your nonprofit exists to solve. It's got to be specific and unique. Step 2 is the solution. It's not your nonprofit, but it's the impact that your work has. That's the solution. You're positioning the potential giver as the hero in this story. Step 3 then is the ask, or turning words into action. You're acting as the guide, guiding the giver, otherwise known as the hero in the story, to creating impact through the giving of a financial gift. That brings us to step number 4, the topic of today's episode, and I call this step the urgency step, or compelling somebody to take action now rather than sometime. Creating a sense of urgency is different for just about every organization and situations, and some kinds of work have a sense of built-in urgency. In other words, if you're raising funds to provide medical care for sick children in a village in West Africa, the fact that there are kids waiting for medical care creates a strong sense of urgency by its very nature. If you're meeting the needs of marginalized women who are victims of human trafficking, again, built-in urgency. But other situations are intrinsically not as urgent. So creating urgency to inspire somebody to act now rather than at some point in the future can require just a little bit more finesse. I do a lot of fundraising work for faith-based radio stations, and creating urgency can be one of the biggest challenges because ethically, it's not entirely accurate for most stations to say, if you don't give now, the station will go off the air. Although eventually at some point in the future, if everybody stopped giving, the station would go off the air. But there are some things you can do and include to encourage people to consider partnering with you now rather than later. Stuff like a dollar for dollar match for a certain period of time, like a week or a month. If you can get a major giver to give an inspirational gift like that, that can really create a sense of urgency. Positive peer pressure can be effective as well. Like just this week, we've seen a 10% increase in monthly giving. With your gift, it could be 12%. If you're trying to create urgency in an email, some well-placed multiple give buttons throughout an email can help. But the best urgency is actually just created when you take the individual you're speaking with or writing to back to steps 1 and 2 and remind them of the impact their gift will have. Seeing and sensing the impact and then realizing that the only thing that is missing is their commitment is exhilarating and kind of exciting for most people, especially when you've communicated the problem and the solution effectively. I have some friends that were recently raising money for some nonprofit work with local college campuses. And on the surface, there's not exactly a ton of urgency at first glance, but if you think about it, the more they share stories of real individual students on the local college campus and the unique challenges that they're facing, along with clear language about where they're at in their fundraising efforts with words like, the second this project is 100% funded, we can get on campus and start building relationships with students like this one, that does communicate urgency. I worked with a missionary family one time who was raising money to get to their mission post as an accountant for a humanitarian relief organization that had a big headquarters in Africa. No offense to accountants, very important people, but this guy struggled for a long time trying to get people to see the importance of their supporting the need for accounting services, which arguably kind of a tough putt. But when we started working together, we created some language that helped potential partners see that when this person's accounting work would keep the field workers in the field for more hours every month rather than in an office someplace trying to do admin work, which meant more of the actual work that the nonprofit was designed to do was getting done, then people were all in and the funding started pouring in to get them on the field. Again, without a sense of urgency, people are busy, they've got a lot on their minds, and a number of things can happen. For one thing, your potential partners can become more educated and informed about what your nonprofit does, but that's it. The potential partner doesn't feel a sense of necessity to give now, and then they're less likely to give later. If you've communicated the problem and the solution with clarity and then made your ask with clarity and in a way that the giver is the hero of the impact story, it's that moment that a person is most likely to make a commitment. Because it is sad but true, but outside of that moment, when you're having a talk with them or they're reading an email from you, you are not top of mind to them. So finding a way to gently nudge people toward a positive response now rather than sometime is important, and it's a core step in the framework. Here's a few more ideas. What about putting together a short sprint campaign around a specific achievable goal that needs immediate funding to maintain momentum? For example, our Building Bridges outreach program has seen incredible growth in the last month, but we need to secure another $2,000 by the end of next week to purchase the essential supplies to continue serving all of the individuals seeking support. Your immediate gift will help us sustain the momentum we've created. Or how about when you shared a recent story of how urgency met an important need, it's like positive peer pressure for acting now. For example, just this past week, we were able to provide emergency transportation for a family facing a sudden medical crisis, all thanks to the quick response of our Compassion Fund. Now, your gift today ensures that we can continue to be that kind of immediate support for other people in the community facing these unexpected hardships. When you make it personal, it's about one family, and then you emphasize the timely nature of the help provided, that creates a lot of urgency. Can you add some time sensitivity? Think about immediate needs within your outreach. Is there a local crisis that's requiring some sort of immediate aid? A time-bound opportunity to support a family in need? Those things clearly communicate urgency. For example, what if it sounded like this? We have a short-term opportunity to provide winter coats for families in our sister church across town, but we need to secure the funding by the end of this week to purchase them in time. Your gift today directly impacts their immediate well-being. Language like that is packed with urgency. So to recap, step 4 in the Fearless Fundraising Framework is creating urgency or inspiring somebody to be generous now rather than sometime in the future. Because if you've led someone through the framework steps to this point, you've got the best opportunity to hear a yes or I can do that in that moment that you ever will. So creating urgency to get that answer now rather than sometime is really important. That's it for this episode of the Nonprofit Launch Plan podcast for startups, small and growing nonprofits. Up next week will be step number 5, or calling people to action. And again, thanks for investing the time and growing your organization, for starting what it is you're starting. I know there's a ton about starting a nonprofit that just can feel overwhelming and make you think, why did I ever choose to do this? But I'm here to be a cheerleader for you, a guide whenever you need it, and to be an encourager to you as well. If you've got a special question or something that you're facing and you'd like to talk about it, it's really easy to book some free time on my calendar. When you do, here's exactly what's going to happen. And I want you to know this because I realize that booking time on some stranger's calendar and then getting on a virtual meeting with them can feel a little awkward. I don't want you to be surprised or put off. There's no pressure, no obligation, no pitching, just some get to know you time for both of us where we talk about whatever it is you're dealing with. We'll chat, and then I'll follow up within 24 hours with a few recommendations for next steps if I think I can help you at all and if we're right for each other. The whole thing is absolutely free, so you can book time on my website at nonprofitlaunchplan.com. Also, remember the other freebie that's up there. If you want to binge all the material related to the 5 steps, we're walking through these in the podcast now. I've got this easy-to-use workbook with 5 short videos that go along with it that take you through each one of the 5 steps and build your confidence in knowing how to invite other people to partner with your nonprofit financially. It's free, and you can get it at the website nonprofitlaunchplan.com. Again, that's all for this episode of the Nonprofit Launch Plan podcast for startups, small and growing nonprofits. Thanks for tuning in. Do not forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode where we talk about step 5. And if you found this helpful at all, please share it with another nonprofit leader who you think might benefit. Until next time, keep making a difference.